So you've been in therapy maybe for years. You know your attachment style, you know where your patterns come from, and you can trace every reaction back to something that happened when you were little. And yet, the same issues keep popping up in your life. If that sounds familiar, fair warning, this video is gonna get uncomfortable. Because here's what nobody in the mental health space is going to tell you out loud. For some, therapy isn't creating change. It's creating a more sophisticated way of understanding why change isn't happening. And there's a specific reason for that. It has nothing to do with how good your therapist is or how hard you're working on yourself. It has everything to do with something that therapy is not designed to teach you. In this video, we're going to break down why self-awareness without nervous system regulation keeps people stuck in the same loops, how therapy can actually turn your patterns into your personality, and what's actually missing that nobody's talking about. Hey everyone, Dr. Greg here, licensed therapist, clinical psychologist, and today we're going to talk about why therapy isn't working for you and what you can do about it. So here's the thing, therapy gives something very valuable to people, a language of what's happening inside them. Anxious attachment, people pleasing, avoidant patterns, hypervigilance, all those fancy, fun mental health terms. And a lot of people, when they hear those terms for the first time, there's a sense of relief. Finally, an explanation. I'm not crazy. The issue is sometimes the explanation becomes the identity. And once something is who you are, changing it feels like you're gonna lose a part of yourself. The assumption a lot of people make is that understanding the patterns happening within you is enough to free you from it. And I'm here to tell you, it isn't. You can know exactly how a pattern unfolds, where it came from, how it plays out in your life, and yet still have zero ability to activate it when it shows up in those worst case scenarios. And that's because the part of your brain that holds that insight, gives you that ability to pause, is not in the same conversation. Sometimes it's not even in the same room as that part of your brain that is regulating your nervous system, pushing you up into fight or flight. So knowing isn't the problem. The gap between knowing and doing, that's the problem. And therapy, in a lot of cases, keeps people knowing, but not necessarily doing. I might get a lot of heat from the therapy community when I say this, but I haven't really heard anyone say it out loud, so here goes. Some modes of therapy are only building up a skill that's useful in the therapy room, but it's not necessarily useful in the real world. You go in, you talk to your therapist, you gain insight, you feel better, you leave. And then when it's Tuesday at 7 p.m. and some big event happens to you, you find yourself being triggered, and guess what? The therapist isn't there for you, so you're not really sure what you need to do in that moment. And in fact, you ultimately react the same way you always have been, because the skill you've been building is processing after the fact, not interrupting the pattern as it's happening. What a lot of people miss is that there's a window that occurs just before autopilot takes over your brain, before the version of you that knows better gets completely overruled by that emotional part of your brain taking over. That window is actually where the work happens, not just in the therapist's office. But because talk-based processing and in-the-moment nervous regulation skills are, well, two different skills, sometimes people only learn the former and they don't learn the latter. Where you start to notice the breakdown moment is when you've been in therapy for 10 years, you've gained a lot of insight, yet nothing has changed in terms of your practical ability to feel better in your daily life. And that's not a therapy failure. That's just something you've been missing up until now. The number one missing piece from this nervous system regulation is a practical skill that will help you regulate your nervous system in the moment, something that you can deploy in real time before that pattern takes over. Here's what this practically means. Every reaction has a buildup. Your nervous system doesn't just go from zero to explosion. It escalates. And that escalation has signals, physical signs that emotions are starting to build. And as your emotions start to build, your behavior is going to change. You might start to tense your jaw. You might start to have shallow breathing into your chest. Your face might start to feel hot. Most people miss these signs because they're trained to pay attention to their thoughts and not necessarily the bodily sensations. This is what the Autopilot Interrupt Protocol is built around. The first step is to simply notice the level of activation and put a number on it. On a scale from 1 to 10, where are you right now? What most people miss here is that there's a threshold, usually at a 7. This is where your logical brain starts to go offline and the emotions start to take over. Once you're past 7, that insight it's pretty useless. If you want to actually win the game, only strategy that you need is catching it before it walks out that door. And when you do, you start to make slow corrections. You slow your breathing down. You unclench your jaw. You drop your shoulders. You name what you're feeling. They're the things that keep that window open just long enough to interrupt that pattern that keeps getting you into trouble. The ability to intervene in your own nervous system before it makes a decision for you. So let me give you an example of how the Autopilot Interrupt Protocol can help you. Yes, these are the effects that come from it we've been talking about, but what's an actual practical skill? Well, as you go through the protocol, you're going to notice what I call micro drills that are going to help bring that emotion down and increase the awareness that, hey, I'm starting to be triggered. One of these is sensory reset. So what you're going to do is name 5 things that you see around you. Pause, name 5 things. Once you do that, I want you to name 5 things in your body, and I want you to do your best to focus on everything occurring. Once you do that, once you're able to identify 5 things you're feeling in your body, I bet you those emotions are going to start to come down for you. Because when we're rooted to the present, we're not going to let those emotions take over and take us out the door. So here's what I want to make clear to you before you take this the wrong way. Therapy works. Therapy works. For a lot of people, it's genuinely life-changing, and I mean that. I wouldn't have spent 1,000 years in graduate school in this career if I believed all of this was just complete and total nonsense. This isn't an argument against therapy. It's an argument for adding the piece that therapy tends to leave out. Because here's the truth. You can have all of the insight in the world. You can know every pattern, every label, every origin story, and still find yourself reacting in ways that you swore you wouldn't. And it's not necessarily because you haven't worked hard enough, but because insight and regulation are 2 different skills, and you've only been building one of them. The goal isn't to understand yourself so well that you never react. The goal is to build enough capacity in your nervous system so that when those negative reactions occur, when the nervous system starts to take over, you can catch it before it takes over completely. And when that happens, everything you've learned in therapy finally has a place to land. If you want to start building that capacity, the Autopilot Interrupt Protocol has helped so many people up to this point. That's where I like to start with a lot of my own clients. It's the first link in the description. It's free. It takes 3 minutes, and it's the piece nobody told you was missing. Go check it out. You are worth 3 minutes a day. Wishing you the best of luck with it.